Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Aim Higher. I'm Mrs. Birkin. I'm one of the English teachers here at Borden Grammar School. Well done for tuning in and well done for all the work you've been doing so far with Miss Ironoi. Nice to see you all back again. Okay, as I understand, you've been working through with Miss Ironoi the different sections of the Kent test. You've had a go at the maths section and the non-verbal reasoning. So what I'm going to do this afternoon is talk you through the English section and the verbal reasoning section. So we have got quite a lot to get through. And I'll just talk you through the different styles of questions and the kind of thing that you might be asked to do. Okay, the first thing you're given for the English section of the test is quite a long passage to read. So I think the questions that follow are testing mainly your recall. So what we should do to get our brains warmed up and in gear is a little practice run of our recall skills. So here are 25 images on the screen, and they're all completely random and jumbled up. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to memorize as many as you can, and then I'll test you to see how many of those 25 images you can recall without them in front of you. So your 30 seconds begins now. Okay, a few seconds left. Okay, that is time up. So I'm going to take them off the screen now, and I'm going to give you 1 minute to see how many of those 25 images you can remember. So write down or draw, if you'd rather, a picture of any of the items that you can remember. Off you go. Okay, you've got around 30 seconds left. Wonder how you're all getting on. $15 seconds. Okay, that's time's up. So pens down, count them up. How many did you get? Let's have a look at the original pictures to see which ones you got, which ones were tricky. You had a couple of musical instruments in there. You had some different animals. You might have grouped those together. Objects you'd find around the house. Food, perhaps. So there we go. Well done if you managed to get some of those. So what we're going to do is essentially the same skill, but with words, phrases, and ideas. So we have to read a passage together. And then we would have around 18 questions testing us on whether we can recall and understand the information in the passage. So I'll put an example up on the screen for you, and we'll read this through together. On this occasion, we're going to have a look at a passage to do with outer space. So this might be a subject you've studied, perhaps in science, but this is not necessarily always the topic you'll be given to read about, but on this occasion, we will be reading about the universe. It is a long passage, but I think we need to practice our stamina so that we can concentrate and focus over long pieces of text. That's a really important skill to practice. So let's go through it together. The universe, Mars. If you look up at the night sky, you can sometimes see a brightly glowing red planet. This is the planet Mars. Mars is the fourth planet from the Sun. Its neighbours are Earth and Jupiter. Mars is one of the 8 planets in our solar system. It's one of the 4 planets in our solar system known as rocky planets. The other 3 are Mercury, Venus, and Earth. Mars is about half the size of Earth and much colder. There's no rain to water plants or air for animals to breathe. There are no oceans on Mars or soil that would be the right kind for growing plants. Mars has lots of rocks and no trees. Seasons last twice as long because a year on Mars is twice as long as Earth's. If you stood at the north or south pole of Mars, you would see lots and lots of ice. The north half of the planet also has flat desert areas. The south part of the planet has deep canyons. Across the planet, there are also tall cliffs, huge volcanoes, dried up riverbeds, and huge holes in the ground called craters. If there is life on Mars, it must be very different from the life on Earth. The conditions on the surface of Mars are very harsh. There's no oxygen, it's drier than any desert on Earth, and there's no radiation. There is radiation from the sun that would kill most living things. If there's any life on Mars, it would have to be very small and live far underground. Mars is often called the red planet because it shines with a red-orange light in the sky. In the 1960s and 1970s, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, sent space probes to Mars. They found out that Mars is red because of rust in the planet's soil. When Mars first formed, the inside of the planet was very hot. High temperatures inside Mars caused the rocks to melt and form magma. Massive streams of magma flowed upwards towards the surface. The melted rock exploded onto the surface of Mars. When magma reaches the surface of a planet, it's called lava. Long ago, lava on Mars poured out and spread across the planet's surface. As it slowly cooled, the lava changed back to solid rock. Huge mountains of cooled lava, called volcanoes, formed on the surface. Jupiter. Jupiter is the fifth planet from the Sun in our solar system. It's also the second brightest planet. Venus is the only planet that is brighter. Jupiter is so bright that when it appears in the night sky, you can see it without a telescope. It looks like a silver star. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system. Its diameter, that's the distance right through the middle of the planet from one side to another, is 11 times as large as Earth's. If you view Jupiter through a telescope, you can see that it has alternating stripes of cream and brown. The cream stripes are called zones, the brown stripes are called belts. Different chemicals in each layer make the different colours. Most of Jupiter is made up of clouds and gas layers. It's one of the planets called the gas giants. The other gas giants are Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Naming the planets. When people look at Mars long ago, its red colour made them think of blood and wars. They thought the planet was like a strong soldier who was ready for battle. For that reason, the ancient Romans named the red planet Mars after their god of war. Astronomers named Jupiter after the king of the Roman gods. This god was the ruler of everything in the sky. He was believed to be the god who brought light into the world. Paintings of the god Jupiter often show him with a lightning bolt in his hand. Time and space. The time it takes a planet to rotate once around its axis is called a day. Like Earth, Mars needs around 24 hours to rotate one time. The time it takes for a planet to orbit the Sun is called a year. It takes Mars about 687 Earth days to orbit the Sun. This means that a year on Mars lasts almost 2 Earth years. A day on Jupiter lasts a little less than 10 hours. Weather in space. Space probes to Mars have taught us that Mars has thin clouds, high winds, and huge dust storms. These dust storms can be 8 kilometers high. During the winter months, temperatures on Mars can be as low as minus 123 degrees. During the summer months, temperatures on Mars can climb as high as 17 degrees. During the day on Mars, the temperatures change a lot. The average daytime temperature on Mars during the summer is minus 23 degrees. The average nighttime temperature on Mars during the summer is minus 57 degrees. Temperatures on Mars change more during just one day than temperatures on Earth change during whole seasons. Since Jupiter is so far away from the Sun, it's always cold. At the top of Jupiter's cloud layer, the temperatures get as cold as minus 150 degrees. It's also very windy. The fastest winds near the planet's equator can reach speeds of up to 550 kilometers per hour. There are also thunderstorms. Winds on Jupiter are formed in a different way from those on Earth. Heat from Jupiter's core flows out into the atmosphere and warms the clouds. This probably creates the wind currents. Visitors from space. In 1938, an actor and writer named Orson Welles scared many Americans. He was the host of a radio show in which actors read plays. On Halloween night, Wells and other actors presented a play based on a novel by H.G. Wells called War of the Worlds. The novel was about an attack on Earth by aliens from Mars. The show began with what sounded like a real news flash about an attack on Earth. It sounded so real that many Americans really thought it was happening. They were terrified. They thought Martians were taking over the Earth. Imagine that. Now, that's an idea that we're going to come back to later on, so hold on to that one. Okay, let's have a look at some of these recall questions, and we'll do the first one together. Okay, here's an example. The question is, why is Mars red? Is it A, it's very hot, B, its surface reflects the glow of the sun, C, it's covered with hot volcanic lava, D, there's rust in the soil, or E, because of blood and wars? Now, several of those ideas were mentioned in the passage, but I need to double check which one was actually given as the reason for the colour red. I remember the answer was D. There is rust in the soil. And if I'm not sure, I can flick back and double check the extract. So there's a close-up. They found out that Mars is red because of rust in the planet's soil. Lovely. So let's have a go at some of those style of questions. First one for you to try. Which statement about Mars is true? So you've got 5 statements there. I want you to read them through carefully and pick out the one that you think is true. You may be able to remember the answer. If not, here's the extract that you need to look at. Okay, hopefully we're all agreed then, and we can double check if we need to. The answer was B. Mars is a rocky planet. Let's try one more of that style of question. According to the passage, why is it unlikely that there is life on Mars? Again, you have 5 options to choose from. Here's that section of text again if you need to check. And the answer is, of course, C. There is strong radiation. Well done. You'd normally have a lot more of those types of questions to answer in the test, I think around 18. But well done if you got those right there. You get the gist, the kind of skill that you've got to show there. The next style of question is to do with the meanings of words. So again, let's do one together. What is a canyon? It wants to know. Is it A, a mountain, B, a volcano, C, a cave, D, a ravine, or E, a glacier? It helpfully tells me that I can see the word in context if I look again at line 20. So let's have a look first before we decide. The south part of the planet has deep canyons. Okay, the adjective's helpful. If it's something that can be described as deep, I think I can rule out mountain and volcano. I know a glacier is to do with ice. Cave, I suppose if I'm describing the space within volcanoes and mountains, cave is not quite right. So the answer must be D, ravine. Have a go at one of those. Which word is closest in meaning to very harsh? A, horrible, B, unbearable, C, severe, D, freezing, or E, depressing? Again, it tells you if you need to see the word in context to look at line 26. So see if you can work that one out. Okay, let's discuss the answer. Although the conditions on Mars may be unbearable or freezing, etc., etc., actually, if I would take the phrase very harsh and use it in a different context, they wouldn't quite be right, would they? If I were to describe being grounded for the weekend as a very harsh punishment, then actually freezing and horrible, that's not quite right, is it? Actually, what I mean by very harsh is C, severe. So well done if you got that one correct. Okay, the next types of question that I'm going to move on to now is to do with types of words. So checking that you know the terminology when we're looking at language. So here's an example. Mars is an example of what type of word? Is it A, a verb, B, an adverb, C, a preposition, D, an adjective, or E, a noun? Now, you might be quite confident about this. You might think that you straight away you know the answer, but let's just go through our options just in case. A verb is a state or an action, so you have to think whether Mars is something you could do, something you could perform. And that's not quite right. An adverb describes the way in which a verb is happening, often with ly on the end as a suffix, but not always, so watch out for that. Again, that doesn't seem to quite fit here. Preposition, if you're not sure, the key is in the second half of the word, position. It tells you usually position of an object, so in or by, with, on, etc. That's not quite right here. Adjective, we've seen the adjective deep to describe the canyons earlier, haven't we? I wouldn't describe a chair or a person as Mars. It doesn't seem to work. A noun is a naming word. So the word I use to name a person, a place, an idea, or an object. Mars is the name of the planet. So that's the best fit. Mars is a noun. Okay, here's another perhaps slightly tricky example for you to have a go at. What type of word is NASA? And if you need to pause the video to work it out, that's absolutely fine. Okay, let's go through the answer. Adjective we've talked about, a word to describe a noun. That doesn't seem to fit here with NASA. Synonyms and antonyms you may have come across. A cinnamon, that's what you put on top of your cappuccino. Your synonym, on the other hand, a word that has the opposite, the same meaning as another word. So big and large, for example. An antonym, a word with the opposite meaning. So big and small. So I don't think that's quite right for NASA, is it? NASA's the name of, a collective group of people. Okay, abbreviation and acronym. Now, these might trick me out slightly. An abbreviation is where I take an existing word or phrase and I shorten it. So, for example, I might refer to mathematics as maths. An acronym, on the other hand, is where I create a new word using the first letters of words in a longer phrase. Now, it did tell me in the extract that NASA is short for a phrase with the initials NASA. So, yes, the correct answer there was acronym. Well done if you got that right. Now, I've just realised I'm recording this during the day in an empty classroom. So if a lesson arrives, I will have to pause the video and come back to you. But yeah, we'll keep going and see how far we get. Okay, the next task is to have a look, see if you can find 4 punctuation mistakes in my paragraph and 4 spelling errors. So checking your sort of technical accuracy. Pause the video now, and then you can press play when you found or late. Okay, let's go through the answers. Punctuation first. The apostrophe in its should be before the S because it indicates that the I in is has been taken. It is perfect. So that was in the wrong position. The word chocolate that follows the colon, now that's still part of the same sentence, so I don't need a capital letter, there should be a lowercase c. I had another apostrophe to trick me out, except this time the apostrophe is missing. Shed is, of course, a word, but shed spent the afternoon doesn't make sense. That is, of course, short for she had. So I should have an apostrophe there to show that the H and the A of had are missing. And lastly, I've got 2 adjectives there to describe the biscuit tin, huge and empty. So they need to be separated with a comma. Well done if you got those. As for spelling, afternoon, although perhaps in this part of the UK, we might pronounce it afternoon. Actually, the R doesn't belong there. The second E in separating, that should, of course, be an A. I always remember it as there is a rat in separating, a rat. The F in raffle tickets should be a double F there. And if you look at the word puzzle, which is just above that, you can see, again, the double Z before the LE. So we should have had the double F there. And last one, biscuit. Again, we might pronounce it biscuit, but there should be a U after the C before the I, because the word, I believe, comes from the French. So there we go. Well done if you got those. Give yourself a mark out of 8. Okay, next we have, again, multiple choice, and we have to choose the missing word. So we read the sentence, and we choose the word we think belongs in the sentence. Max and his dad finally reached the front, the queue for the roller coaster. These are my prepositions that I was talking about earlier. So I can go through and read the sentence until I reach the one that's correct. And the answer is, of course, of. Now, I'm just going to end this section of the lesson first, and I'll leave you with the next task, just because I am worried that somebody's going to arrive and want to use this classroom. So that's part one, and I'll be back for part two. There's your task that I'm going to leave you with. Which is the word that's missing? Now it was turn to enter the right. Is it A there, B there, C there, D theirs, or E theirs? Okay, I'll see you shortly. Hello. Okay, welcome back. Part two. You may notice I have changed location, but we keep calm and carry on. So where were we? The final task of the English section of the Kent test that I left you with was just there up on the screen. I'm just going to press. Okay. So how did we get on? This was a tricky one because, of course, you've got homophones. So homophones are words that sound exactly the same, but are spelt differently and have completely different meanings. So there, and there, people often make mistakes with. The answer was, of course, A, there. THEIR suggests possession. So it was Max and his dad's turn to ride the roller coaster. It was the turn of Max and his father. So that was the correct answer. Now, the reason D was incorrect with the apostrophe is because the word there, like the word his or her, already suggests possession. We don't need the apostrophe in addition. There we go. Moving on then to the last part of the Kent test. So the verbal reasoning section. Again, lots of different styles of questions. So I'm just going to talk you through some examples so that you know the kind of thing that you might be asked to do. Okay, so big is to small orange colour, as wide is to apple red narrow. Don't worry, I haven't gone crazy. It makes no sense, does it? What I need to do is I need to choose one word from the first set of brackets and another word from the second set of brackets so that the riddle, if you like, is complete. So when I think about the word big, that has a relationship to the word small. And of course, the relationship is they are opposites. So then I look down to the second half of the sentence, wide. And again, I choose the word that I think has the same relationship as small has to big. So I'm looking for the opposite of wide. So the answer is narrow. Okay, I'm going to give you some tasks to see if you can have a go at doing that by yourself. Here are two different tasks. So again, if you pause the video for the answers and then and I'll talk you through. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to go through and choose the answers you think are correct. Okay, these were slightly harder, I felt. For example, the first one, well, I would find information in a book. I would find a book in a library. I would read a book. So actually, any of those words arguably have a relationship to the word book. So I would then look to the second half of the sentence. A film and movie, I suppose, are synonyms in a way, aren't they? I might see a film on the television, but that doesn't seem to match any of the options I've got in the first half of the sentence. I would watch a film. Now that seems to me to be the same relationship as the word read has to the word book. So that was the correct answer. Okay, again, the next one was a bit tricky because you could argue that trunk has a relationship to the word luggage, elephant, or tree, depending on the context. So any of those could be correct. Then when I look down to the second part of the statement, I can see that the stem is the part of the plant that holds it upright. So I have to think, okay, well, which word has a similar meaning? Tree. The trunk of the tree is similar to the stem of the plant. So there we go. Well done if you got those correct. They're quite tricky. Excuse me. Right, next set of questions. I'm being given 5 words and I need to identify the 2 words that are the odd one out. So we've got 3 colours, black, red and green, and the 2 words that don't belong are mouse and hut. So I know you've done lots of work on Odd Ones Out with Miss Irinoy. It's the same kind of thing, except with that, instead of being shapes and things like that, we've got to consider the meanings of the words instead. Okay, here are some for you to have a go at. Again, a little bit trickier. So pause the video and press play when you're ready for the answers. Okay, hopefully you've been able to work out the correct answers. Again, as I said, a little bit trickier, some of these. So school, literacy, mathematics, teacher and history, all words to do with study, but I wouldn't study school and I wouldn't study teacher, whereas literacy, mathematics and history are all subjects. Okay, next one, again, all creatures, all parts of the animal kingdom, so might not have been obvious at first. However, mouse, hedgehog and fox are all mammals I would find on land. Bird and fish are the odd ones out. Okay, the next one, excuse me, we may have found the trickiest of all. Intelligent, clear, clever, knowledgeable, and intellect. Hopefully words that we would all use to describe ourselves, I assume. The odd ones out were clear and intellect, because intelligent, clever, and knowledgeable are synonyms. Clear is an adjective, but it doesn't have quite the same meaning as the other 3 words. And again, intellect is a similar idea, but it is a noun. If it were intellectual, then that perhaps would have the same meaning as intelligent, clever, knowledgeable, but the word type was slightly different, so that was in there to trick you up. Okay, next set of questions. Right, I've got a pair of words, band and ban, and then I've got a second pair, song and sun. And as you can see, to turn the word band into the word ban, I've had to remove the last letter. Similarly, with song into sun, I've removed the last letter. So to find the missing word from the final pair, I know the pattern is I need to remove the final letter. So instead of tear or tear, to remove the R, I would find the word tea. So here are some examples. There's 3 again. Pause the video, take as long as you need. Work out the pattern, what has happened in the pair of words, and apply the same rule to the 3rd pair. Good luck. Okay, let's go through the answers. These were tricky. Right, packet and tack. Okay, I've obviously taken off the first letter and the final 2 letters, but then I've added the final letter T on at the beginning to replace the letter P. So remove the first letter in tamper, remove the final 2 letters, put the final letter back where the T was. Yeah, that would make ramp. So same again, I would replace the N with the Y. So nearly becomes year. Okay, the next example, I've got the first 2 letters and then I've got letter number 4 and 5, so the L and the A in collar, except I've had to reverse them. So it goes letter 1, letter 2, letter 5, letter 4 to make coal. And again, the same rule from direct to dice. The first letter, the second letter, then the 5th letter, then the 4th letter. So after bottle should come B-O-L-T, bolt, like a lightning bolt. Okay, the last one might have tricked us out. It looks at first with letter, oh, all I have to do is keep the first 3 letters. L-E-T makes let. So after mental, M-E-N makes men. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Except, no, we need to look at the second pair. If that were the rule, then beetle would be followed by B, B-E-E, but it isn't. So it must be the 4th letter in beetle to spell bet. Let's double check with letter. Yes, the 4th letter, T, is the same as the 3rd letter, T, in letter. So that's why it tricked me. So then when I go back to the word mental, M-E, fourth letter T, met. So there we go. Those are your answers there. Well done if you got all of those right. Don't worry if you found them tricky. Once you've done a few of these, you start to get a feel for the thought process, I suppose. Right, last style of question that I'm going to talk you through. Now, Miss Erinoy is your maths expert. I'm sure she'd really enjoy this task. I have to say I had to concentrate on this one. So what have we got? We've got 4 words: sent, east, main, and tame. And I've got 3 codes. 3 of those codes represent 3 of those words. Now, the problem is I'm missing one of the codes. I've only got the codes for 3 of the words: sent, east, main, or tame. And to make it even harder, the codes aren't in the right order. So that first code there, 1536, isn't necessarily sent. 4236 isn't necessarily east. 5216 isn't necessarily main. So it's my job to try and decode which number denotes which letter. So pause the video, see if you can deduce as much as possible. I'm sure there's more than one way of doing this. Have a go, and then when you press play, I'll talk you through how I did it. Okay, let me talk you through my process. Again, as I said, don't worry if this isn't how you worked it out. I'm sure there is a different combination, a different way that you could do it. But let's go through just in case anybody was completely stuck. Okay, 3 out of the 4 words have got A as the second letter. It's the first thing I noticed: east, main, and tame. And 2 of the codes have got 2 as the second digit. So I think that the number 2 must represent the letter A. The first code, on the other hand, doesn't have 2 as the second digit, and therefore mustn't have the letter A as the second letter, if you're following me so far. So I think from that the first code, 1536, must represent S-E-N-T, sent, because it's the only word that doesn't have A as the second letter. If I'm correct in thinking that, then I now know that the number 1 is the letter S, the number E must be the letter, the number E. The letter E is the number 5. The letter N is the number 3, and T must be the number 6. Oh, I'm getting all confused here. You can tell we're reaching the end, can't you? So the third code, 5216. Sorry, that should say the first code. Hold on, have I got this wrong? No, that's right, isn't it? There we go. And then finally, the final code doesn't begin with 6, which I've worked out must be the letter T. So that must be the code. 5216 must be the code for main. Phew. Yeah, as I said, don't worry if you found a different way of working it out. But now that's not even the task. You'll be sorry to hear. What we now have to do is find the code for main, M-A-N-E, find the code for T-A-N-S, TANS, and then finally work out which word has the code 6245. So I suggest you pause the video, take as long as you like, and come back for the answers. Good luck. Okay, let's go through the answers. Hopefully my notes in the corner there didn't just add to the confusion, but here we go. The answers are, to spell the word main, you needed 4235. To spell the word TANS, you needed 6231. And to find the word for that code, we had T-A-M-E, tame, which is one of the original 4 words that we had. Okay, you'll be pleased to know that that's the end of the task that I'm going to talk you through for this afternoon. So well done. I know it's a lot of extra work after a busy day at school, a lot of concentration, lots of new information. So yeah, I'm very impressed that you've stuck with it. I'm going to leave you with a task because, of course, one of the reasons we're doing these Aim Higher sessions is so that we can start to get to know each other, that you get a feel for Borden, but also that we get to know something about you, what you've learnt, what you enjoy, what your skills are that you're bringing to us from your primary schools. So I'm going to leave you with a creative task. It's always lovely to see the creative writing skills that you've been working on. And I'm going to come back to the passage that we were reading earlier on, life on Mars. Now, according to that passage, it's unlikely that there's life on Mars, but it's such a fascinating idea. And as at the end of the passage, it said something that during that Halloween night in the 1930s, people were worried that perhaps life on Mars had come to Earth. So your challenge is to write a 100-word mini saga. No more, no less. So see if you can get it to exactly 100 words. But the title, Life on Mars. So you might imagine yourself going on an expedition to Mars. You might imagine life from Mars coming to Earth. Or perhaps you've thought of a different way of making these two worlds collide. It doesn't necessarily have to be sinister or frightening. It could be funny. It could be beautiful and poetic, the way you describe life forms. It's totally up to you. But hopefully you can draw on some of what we read in the passage, as well as your own creative writing skills. Would be really, really happy to read what you come up with. So by all means, please email your answers to F. Birkin, that's myself, at Borden Grammar. Or I'm sure Miss Ironoi would love to see what you've come up with as well. So feel free to email your creative writing to myself, to Miss Ironoi, or in fact to both of us. And yeah, we look forward to seeing what you come up with. Well done, everybody. Keep up the hard work, and we'll see you in September. Nice to meet you all. Bye.